Welcome to Booking It. Today's episode will be 100 Cupboards, the series. Hey everyone, welcome to Booking It, or as Bryson called it earlier, Winging It, because today we're discussing 100 Cupboards, just three guys sitting around, no plan, no outline,
Zero.
Nothing, just three guys, discussion, book. So, joining me today, Mr. Tanner Lewis in the blue puffer jacket. How you doing,
Hello,
sir?
folks. I am doing well.
And in the green jacket.
You about to call it a hoodie?
I was about to call it a hoodie.
No, this is a
Not a hoodie.
jacket.
This is a very stylish jacket. Mr. Bryson Bostwick.
Hey, everybody.
Stylish as always. Well, unfortunately, Mr. Isaiah could not be with us. He is at home doing something. He was unclear about what, but he...
I know, I asked him.
He's messing
his
around.
parents
I
didn't
don't know.
Well, no, his parents wouldn't tell him, apparently. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
He's messing around on his new
True, he
headphones
did
that
get
he
new headphones.
purchased
That's right, that's right.
that
Oh.
I'm jealous of and will probably end up buying within the next year and a half.
Yeah. Even though you were lamenting the fact that you were like dead broke
I know.
before we started.
Even though, like, you are trying
That
to
is
get a
the-
car right now.
That's entirely true. These are all of these.
I was like, I have to make a down payment for a car. Let me buy very expensive headphones.
Do you know
Soon.
what's funny about all of this is that every statement we've said is absolutely and entirely true.
Yeah.
And each one of them
Actually,
will come true.
I was
the
listening.
things that Tanner cares about.
I was reading a book the other day. It was actually the one I was talking about that I'll probably episode on eventually, which is Trust of the Emerald Sea. And at the very beginning, the narrator goes, "This is a story about people who contradict themselves." That is to say, it's a story about humans. So, hey, it's very human that Tanner would do those things, but also very, very contradictory as well. So, hey,
Yeah.
okay. Well, today, guys, we're discussing Indy Wilson and his
Mhm.
book series, 100 Cupboards.
Mhm.
And I have all four of them laid before us very dramatically. But I guess we can start off. What's your history? How did you first come to know and read 100 Cupboards and Mr. Indy Wilson? Bryson?
Mine is very recent. I actually just finished Chestnut King.
Yeah.
Um,
Here's the final book in the series for those who don't know.
Yes. And, I mean, I've been following Indy Wilson for probably, like, the last 6 months now.
Uh-huh.
Not a long time with him either, but just grown to love him, listening to his podcast, Stories of Soul Food, which everyone should definitely check out, listen to.
Definitely.
And y'all know me. I couldn't just start where we were. I had to go back to the very beginning and listen to
Right, when
all
Bryson
the
won the
episodes.
podcast, he started over, basically. Got to catch up on the lore all the way from the beginning.
Yeah. So I'm doing that not only with our podcast, but with Indy Wilson's podcast too. So, and probably other ones to come.
Yeah.
But
which is
yeah,
quite
so
impressive,
It
to
is.
say the least. Like,
so
I can
I've
never do
made
that.
it to 77 now.
Nice.
I'm
You're
at
over
77.
halfway.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, in the series, when you...
Yeah, series. I listened to his podcasts on the books. I had no idea what they're about. I've talked to y'all about them. Other than that, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had bought the books, and one day, I think that it was during winter break. I was just bored, and I was like, I'll read the first book. I'll
Nice.
see what it's like, what it's about.
Yeah.
And jumped right in. It was a bit hard to get into at first. New author, new series. I don't know anything about. I just like the author. That was
Mhm.
my main intrigue, main reason I was reading the books. And yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. I still haven't read Door 4.
Yeah, the prequel, yeah.
That is something that is going to happen in probably next few days. So yeah,
Nice.
I can't really. I know some of what happens in it just because he's alluded to it
Yeah.
in podcasts and stuff like that. But yeah, so I'm excited for that now too.
Tanner?
oh, when did I pick these up?
Yeah, I'm sure your history goes far more.
The real question is, when
Way
did, they,
further
when did
back.
they appear on your bookshelf?
They never did,
Really?
actually.
You had to go out and find them?
I don't... Nope, I've got it.
Wait, it's like yeah, if they don't come to me, I must come to them kind of
It
thing.
was on the Kindle. This was
Oh.
back in the Kindle days.
Oh, yes.
Ooh.
apparently.
Those days.
That's how I read Green Ember.
Oh, yeah.
I read
Oh, yeah,
Green Ember on
same.
Kindle.
Same. I
Years
have like
and-
all the green numbers in the Kindle.
Mhm.
Years and years ago. So I guess I think it started showing up on my thing, ironically, right after I had read The Green Ember. Ha,
Fair,
ha, ha, ha,
fair.
ha.
It's almost like the same people.
It's
read the
almost
same
like they're
books.
friends.
Exactly. It started showing up in my recommended on Kindle. So Amazon essentially said, Tanner, you should read these. And I said no for the longest time, just because I'm like, nah.
I've done the
So
same thing with
it
so many
took-
books.
I think it took it took Cooper telling me I should read these for at least a year and a half, something like that, for me to
Wow.
actually pick them up and read them. But I'm not actually sure when that was, in all honesty. Like, that, I feel like that's 3 or 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, shoot, 3.
I can't remember either because you're very big about Ashdown. You like Ashdown a lot more.
I read them right. Okay, I figured it out.
We stirred it up.
It's all coming back to me as I'm talking about it. Okay,
You
so
can see he was like droning, and then all of a sudden, the flood, the rush of
Yeah.
words.
the thought came back. I was reading. So I was reading the Green Ember, and I finished the Green Ember, and I'd read the 4th book, and I loved it, teary-eyed, everything,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
And then I'm like, I need more stuff like this. And then Outlaws of Time popped up, and I recommended first. And I'm like, well, that looks so much more interesting than 100 Cupboards. So I go and I read through all of the Outlaws of Time, and I'm like, that was amazing. And so after that, I'm like, Ashtown Burials, and that's my favorite one now, as anybody knows. Like, literally love that series so much. And then after that, I'm like, well, I mean, I guess I need
might as well turn to the OG.
I may as well, like, go back to what everybody says is so much better than them. And in all honesty, after reading the other 2, it wasn't it.
Oh man.
Compared,
So maybe you should have started with
it
these.
Maybe.
really wasn't it compared to
Maybe this should have been the first door you
compared
opened.
to Ashtown and compared to
No,
Outlaws. 100 Cupboards.
I said
was
maybe it should have been the
first
first door
door.
that Tanner opened.
I heard first story.
Oh my bad.
So anyways,
never say
I
so
wouldn't have laughed. I
straightforward
wouldn't
like
have
that.
laughed either.
Okay. The king of cheese himself.
So anyways, as you can tell, I definitely enjoyed his other books more, and
Yeah.
I didn't see
We'll get
these
to
as quite as much, which is why it's harder for me to remember when I read them.
Yeah. So, I think Indy Wilson is one of those authors that Mom had me read. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it's the same vein as like Wingfeather Saga, Green Ember. I think he was the first one that I read. I was in that phase where I was going through books like a day, book a day. Mom would do a library run a week, buy 5 books. I'd have them all done.
Whoa.
I mean, maybe it was not quite that much, but you get the point. I think Indy Wilson was one of those authors that's respected in the community that we're in, and so she could feel good about giving me any one of his books. And she joked with me looking back. I don't know how old I was when I read them. I was probably older than 10 for sure. But she goes, man, if I like looked at what was in these books, like just face value, I might not have let you read them, just because of what happens, the violence and things like that. Like they're dark, especially Ashtown and things. But anyway, I remember reading them. I read through pretty much all its canon. Like I read 100 Cupboards, I read Lee Pike Ridge, I read Outlaws, at least what was available. I don't think the last book had been published yet.
Yeah.
And then I read Ashtown as well. Ashtown really confused me. The ending did. But of course it's not finished yet, so that makes sense now. I didn't know that when I read it. Lee Pike Ridge is really good though. I really enjoyed that one. I've read that one several times. I've read through 100 Cupboards again. Most recently was I read it over the summer a couple of years ago. And then we discussed Indy Wilson as well on the podcast. And I think
You refreshed then. I remember that.
What happened was I started them over the summer and then didn't get to finishing them before school year started. And then I came back to them redoing the podcast and finished them off, I think. And also I'd read like Outlaws in between then. But yeah. Have you listened to that episode yet? We did an Indy Wilson, Bryson?
I don't think.
It's like episode 60 something.
It was it was a pretty broad. It was very, very broad.
It was very broad, but it was a
Yeah.
good episode. It's a good episode, I thought. One of the
Quality.
popular ones. But then, anyway.
Yeah,
So-
so you have to branch out from that.
Right. Okay. Well, if anybody wants to like give a pitch for the book, for someone who's not read it before, what's the basic, setup, plot, and why should they read it? If they should. All right, Bryson, you give the plot. Okay. You give the pitch.
Okay.
Why they should read it, or give us the basic general
Yeah.
story. Then Tanner, you tell them why they should or should not read it and what value lies therein. Okay. And then we can discuss it.
So
This is Bryson's synopsis is as useful as it is for you to me.
Yeah.
yeah. So basically, this story is about a kid that is super protected, overprotected. He has not lived anything like the lives that we have lived.
Right.
He's 12, I believe.
Yeah. Sounds right.
12-year-old kid that ends up in Kansas because his parents.
Wait, no.
are
A
missing.
person who has all of the capability of a teenager, but none of the hormones.
Yes.
Indy Wilson was,
Yeah.
or was it him or Gene Birdsall? I don't know. Somebody said that.
Yeah, I think it was him. It is a story of his coming of age, becoming a man, how he actually becomes someone tough, stronger, someone that we can all. I mean, there are ways we can we can sympathize with him beforehand, but definitely not as much as later on.
What I love about this summary so far is that it's very much Bryson. Like, I was thinking the plot, the facts, and you're like, it's a boy becoming a man, and his journey along the way.
Yeah.
Like, that's so Bryson. I love that.
And so basically, one of the things that Indy wants to really stress in this series is that magic is everywhere, and even it's not just off in England or in some.
You don't need to be in Britain to tell a fantasy story.
Yeah, some fanciful world that we've never heard about. It's in our backyard, and it starts in Kansas for that reason.
Right.
And eventually, it does transport you to a different place, where Henry deals with all sorts of magical things and dreams, and that's a really cool topic that I'm excited about. Just the whole dream.
Yeah, the kind of visions that he sees.
The powers of dreams
Dream
and how
walking,
he can dream walk and all that. It's but I don't know what else to add to that plot. His defeating of evil.
Yeah, it's true.
Boy becoming a man.
By the way, I don't know how long
Man defeating evil.
took me to realize this, but the bad guy in the series is the Witch of Endor, and literally that's what the witch is called in Samuel when they're in Kings when Saul tries to call him Samuel. And so. Yeah. I think I was distracted because like the Star Wars place is called Endor.
Yeah.
So I'm like, rip off.
When I read it, I was like, Endor, that's a good place. That's for the Ewoks. How dare you make it bad?
This witch is no Ewok. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. But so I think the plot that kind of sets up the story Bryson was telling was this kid who's overprotected goes to live with his aunt and uncle because his parents got kidnapped, which is just hilarious. Yeah. It's just a random fact. But while he's there, you
kind of forget it.
You do. Well, he does too. It's kind of fade out of the story. Anyway, so
we don't really like them either. They're kind of like.
Oh no, yeah, they
because of what they've done to him.
Well, and even later, right when they get saved, they lie about seeing him
and.
Anyway.
Oh, we missed him so much.
Yeah, that's kind of. Anyway, the way it's written that scene though is like not terribly tragic. It's just kind of cold.
Yeah.
And like passive, honestly. Anyway. So while he's at his aunt and uncle's, he uncovers 100 cupboards in the attic wall.
Oh yeah, I didn't say anything about the cupboards.
Yeah. 100 cupboards.
This is the 100 cupboards. Actually, let me just avoid that.
Sorry, he finds 99 cupboards.
Yes,
that is correct.
99 cupboards that lead to other worlds.
Hard work reveals.
Right.
99 cupboards.
99 cupboards. Exactly. Hard work. And it's really fun. Because hey, let's just say he doesn't stay on Earth for very long. We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. That's what he says. No, he didn't say that. But okay, Tanner. What is the value of reading or not reading 100 cupboards, would you say?
Okay. It's a good idea, okay?
It's a very good conceit.
It's a very good conception, idea, thought, right? Like the story, it's great, right? The actual telling of that story, it feels like the punch just isn't there sometimes.
What do you mean?
Let me give you an example that's vivid to me that you guys might not agree with, but I remember specifically. I've read through all of the first and second books, right? And I get to the third book, and after loving Dandelion Fire and all of his like magical transformation and everything, we get to the Chestnut King, and I'm like, oh wow, this is really gonna wrap it up. Do you know what I can tell you I remember from this book, from the Chestnut King?
Nothing.
Nada.
Yeah, let me tell you.
Literally,
this is one of the
zip.
series that I do not remember a ton. I have to ever read through, and I've read through it at least 2 times, maybe 3 times. The first book, definitely.
Which is one of the things that you and I have talked about already with just comparing when we talked about comparing Indy Wilson and Andrew Peterson is writing, like ability to write. Indy probably is.
He's probably better.
Probably
he has a way with words.
He has a way with words.
He's also a novelist, not a songwriter as well.
Story-wise, creativity-wise, he doesn't sell it as well.
Yeah, I don't know.
I remember. I mean, I have fell in love and read Wing Feather like 3 times, and I've only read this once. But I already know I'm gonna remember most everything from Wing Feather, and I will forget. I will forget what happens in this, but at the same time, there are still reasons why I want to go back and read it already.
Sure. We'll discuss. I think that there is extreme value in reading the series.
I like that. I like that build up, Tanner. You're like, it's a great series.
Well, here's the deal.
I hate it. I can't remember anything.
I think here's the deal. I think we're all gonna have different views, but end up similar places. I bet you Bryson can like it the most. all be in the middle, and they tend to like it the least. Okay, but we'll all end up in the same place as regards the general value of someone reading the series.
Oh, yeah,
okay,
definitely.
but we'll see what happens.
But as far as like my actual reading goes, like the reason that here's what I would tell somebody, like, you should read this. I would say you should read this if you don't have anything better to read right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
If you
Yeah.
need something
Filler?
that you like
filler?
if you're bored in your reading and you're like, I need something to like wake me up and have like a good like wake up read to be able to read well.
Yeah, well,
Like that's what I need right now. I'm looking for a wake up book, but this isn't it because I've already read it. But like if you've
Yeah.
never read this before, I need like and you need a wake up book. This is a good wake up book. Like I love reading and I should read more again because the writing's good, the story is okay, right? But the reason I wouldn't say this is going to be your favorite book ever is just because looking at it back from 3 years ago or whatever, however long it was, it doesn't stick.
it is not sticking.
It just
I know.
the only thing that sticks is from Dandelion Fire with all of his like transformation and all of the discoveries he makes
Dandelion Fire is probably the best one.
inside Dandelion Fire, and that's the only thing I can remember. It's the only one I'd ever pick up again just to read.
And it's weird is that you could read the first and second books, and honestly, it's kind of almost complete because like it has the story has a climax. One villain dies basically.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and you could leave it like an open-ended world, honestly.
Yeah, you could. I mean, his journey's not fully complete yet, but it is mostly complete.
Yeah.
But anyway, so to go back, we agreed that for some reason it doesn't stick. Now, I want to postpone the discussion of the value, at least my thoughts on that for a little bit, and I want to talk about like why it doesn't stick. Okay, so my thesis is this: we talked about it. I think Andy Wilson is a very good writer. Like just the way with words he has is mesmerizing. Just some of the opening pages of like what he talks about Kansas is awesome. Like it's so good. And at the same time is appealing to kids, but also is like well written. It's not that kind of thing that is irritating. Yeah, pull it up. Maybe you can read it.
I feel like this was
cover
a whole
jackets are not good for podcasting.
They really aren't. I'm about to have to take this off. It is just like making so much noise. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but it's pretty bad
pretty
for
loud,
us.
I feel like the overall weight of these books is a whole lot more serious.
Yeah. It's very tonally serious.
But also, I don't know, how much do we see in the first book that is then fleshed out in the final book? Like,
What do you mean?
I feel like each of these books built on the one before it, but I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, I didn't see any need from first book, 100 Cupboards, to then have Dandelion Fire. And
Interesting.
I didn't see any need from Dandelion Fire to then have Chestnut King. Like, there were no... I didn't feel like there were many unsolved plots.
I understand.
That's valid. I
So-
agree with that.
minus the Queen.
Right. Indoor
minus
is
the
still
Witch
out there,
Queen.
yeah.
Like, we don't hear about the Chestnut King or anything. It's like this legend that all of a sudden appears in
The Hour of Need.
yeah, in
It's
Chestnut
in
King
many
in the last
ways,
book.
like, we...
I feel like that. It feels a little bit like lazy writing. I'm not saying it is.
Okay, well, and what we have to consider is, remember, he wrote this as one book originally, and then split it up. Or it was going to be like 5
Wow.
books, and split it into 3.
Wow.
So like, we have to understand,
Oh.
like, he had an idea of a story, then for publishing reasons, they had to cut it up.
Yeah.
So he
that
joked once.
actually would have been.
Well, it was a mess. Like you said, it was a mess.
Yeah.
So, and also nobody's going to buy like a 2,000 word or 200,000 word kids book. You know, they'd rather buy
I would.
375,000.
Yeah,
75,000
you were not
words.
everyone,
It's almost-
Tanner.
Yeah,
you were
exactly.
not everyone.
It's called Lord of the Rings, right?
Okay. I found.
Okay.
I found the
We're
opening
turning. Just
statement.
one second. Let me finish this real fast.
Okay, go ahead.
In many ways, in Chestnut King, like we restart the story, like they are
Yeah.
restarting, but in a different place, kind of thing.
Like we've got
Now-
new fingerlings, new like characters that we're
Right.
following.
Right.
We've got all sorts of
Yeah. One thing I was going to say though is I think that it's better than like a TV show where they keep extending it, even though there's no
Mhm.
reason for it to
yeah,
be.
yeah.
Like it's very obviously a story he has. I think there are unresolved threads, like we agreed, that need to be resolved. Maybe it's just in the execution didn't quite show us. Okay, there were things that need to happen, that we maybe didn't know need to happen, but maybe he
Yes,
wasn't
yes,
as
exactly.
capable about
Yeah.
showing us. So those
Well,
things
and
needed to
that's
happen.
part of it is like we're being brought into this world having no idea what's going on, just like Henry.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And since Henry has no idea what's going on, we have no idea what's going on, and we don't know how much we don't know.
Right. And that's a good thing. Like, we have 100 cupboards or 99 cupboards where we have all these worlds.
We still have, like 80 cupboards that we never
and many of them are
about?
stories that he's told elsewhere, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it just I remember him talking about that, like the when they're walking through in Lord of the Rings, when they're walking through the
yes, the Valley of the Dead.
Yes.
And they see the guy who's got like this sword and the door that's like scratched and
it's like a door that they could go down, a path that they could follow, but that's not the path for them right now.
But that path being there makes the world so much deeper, nonetheless.
Yes. Yeah. And just there being all those options, all those other stories that could be told, but no, this one is told.
Correct.
Helps us see, okay, this is the one that's important. This is the one we should focus on.
And
Speaking of
to it.
Fun fact, in Ashtown, he actually alludes to them, in his on the Silent Bells. Like there's a specific part. I don't have all like 15 newspaper copies of Silent Bells with me right now, but anyways,
go ahead. We'll talk about style now. Read the opening.
Yes,
the
opening. I don't want to read all of it because it
goes on for a while.
It goes on for a while,
good.
but it's good. Okay, I'll start off opening. Henry, Kansas is a hot town and a cold town. It is a town so still there are times when you can hear a fly trying to get through the window of the locked up antique store on Main Street.
Like
Nobody
I know what that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like. Exactly what it's like.
Nobody remembers who owns the antique store, but if you press your face against the glass, like the fly, you'll see that whoever they are, they don't have much beyond a wide variety of wagon wheels. Yes, Henry is a still town, but there have been tornadoes on Main Street. If the wind blows, it's like it won't ever stop. Once it's stopped, there seems no hope of getting it started again. There's a bus station in Henry, but it isn't on Main Street. It's 1 block north. The town fathers hadn't wanted all the additional traffic.
I love the full circle of that.
Yeah,
exactly. The station lost 1/3 of its roof due to a tornado 15 years ago. In the same summer, a bottle rocket brought the gift of fire to its restrooms. The damage has never been repaired, but the town council makes sure that the building is painted fresh every other year, and always the color of a swimming pool. There is never graffiti. Vandals would have to drive more than 20 miles to buy the spray paint. Every once in a long while, a bus creeps into town and eases to a stop beside the mostly roofed, bright aqua station with the charred bathrooms. Nice. Henry is always glad to see a bus. Such treats are rare, and on this day, our story begins. Bus hopes were high. The Willis family was expecting their nephew, and the Mr. and Mrs. stood on the curb waiting for his arrival.
Nice. And this is the opening to the second book. Kansas is not easily impressed. It has seen houses fly and cattle soar. When funnel clouds walk through the wheat, big hail falls behind. As the biggest stones melt, turtles and mice and fish, and even men, can be seen frozen inside. And Kansas is not surprised. Henry York had seen things in Kansas. Things he didn't think belonged in this world. Things that didn't. Kansas hadn't flinched. I love that. That's so cool. Anyway, so that leads into kind of his style discussion. That is obviously witty, funny. Kids can understand and laugh, and so can adults and us. We can appreciate it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the deal. So Tanner and I have read the series several times, or we've read it, and really it hasn't stuck that well. And my contention is, although Wendy Wilson has a wonderful way with poetry and words, and prose especially, I think that can kind of get in the way of him telling the clear narrative, okay?
Mm-hmm. He's even talked about it on his own podcast. Just like when writers become too poetic or focus too much on the words instead of the story, and they want to sell a good paragraph of poetry or a good paragraph of prose instead of just a good brick. That's what he says, is just a brick of the story. And I mean, were these his first?
And Lee Pike Ridge was published kind of simultaneously. They were very first.
I have also read Lee Pike. I should say that.
Honestly, of all his books, it's the one that manages best to be both poetic and an actual story.
Yeah.
But anyway, with 100 Cupboards, to me, he's not trying to be navel gazing at all. He's not that kind of writer. He's not obsessed with the way of his words, I don't think. But
no,
he also has a great story to tell. Like, I love the story, the base story of 100 Cupboards, and the characters and the world. But somehow, his words just get in the way of telling you what happened. And Andrew Peterson, His prose is not quite as good. It's a lot simpler. It's not as, I don't know, it's not as good, I don't think, his writing. But when it comes down to it, he'll give you the moments. He's a great songwriter who knows how to capture emotions. And even the prose maybe isn't as spectacular. You get the feeling, you know?
Yeah. That's a huge thing.
So I don't know what it is, but it's
feeling was communicated
right
a whole lot better.
And it's interesting because like I told about that scene in Dandelion Fire where his parents just, you know, basically say, we don't love our kid, kind of implied. It's very cold, you know? And maybe he wanted us to feel that way, but that's all I feel. Yeah, it's just this passive coldness, you know? I think that's what he meant to feel. But also, at the very end of the climax of 100 Cupboards, it's supposed to be this like spectacular moment of him finally becoming a man in many other ways than just becoming a man. And it just falls for me because it's very, I don't know, historical in its telling. I don't know.
I think one of the things that hurts Henry in the series is that the magic is something that isn't understood.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's not like because most of us are used to Lily plays a song and the fangs are blocked and
right, because as a
run
songwriter,
away.
Music is a weapon.
Yes. and
ooh, I love
the
that.
actual
I'm not
the actual drawing of a form in the sky actually opens a vault.
Right.
Like in this, we hear, okay, he has a burn on his wrist.
He's the seventh son of a seventh son.
He has a burn on his wrist that can somehow allow him the ability to see things that are invisible, allow him to dream walk, to go inside a dream and do things in the dream, and then also go to sleep in the dream and do another dream. Right. If that sounds crazy, that's because it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and Indy does spend a lot of time talking about just listening to the podcast, condemning Harry Potter and how Harry Potter doesn't have strict laws for its magic, and I feel like that is something that this struggles with too.
So here's the deal. Honestly, I think it's a different thing.
It is bound by nature, I think.
So this goes into what his view of magic is.
Yeah.
And so he's very Tolkienian view of magic. Basically, that people are imbued with certain power by God, basically. Yeah. And he argues it's basically a Mosaic view, like what Moses did and what the prophets had, kind of thing, which is interesting. But like you said, it's very ambiguous as to what he can do. Yeah. You know, now Harry Potter, he's right. It's kind of weird as to where the source of the magic comes from, but it has laws we can understand and follow.
Yeah.
Even if she can like brush over like I don't think
you
about
do
that
this. This happens. You say this spell.
Right.
This happens.
Right.
Henry, on the other hand, like the only thing he really figures out how to do is transport himself between worlds when he finally figures out how to like suck himself into the doors.
I forgot that happened.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally forgot that happened.
Anyway, so okay, here's the deal though. There's in fantasy today, there's a difference between like a hard magic system and a soft magic system. Okay, hard magic it's almost like a science. Okay, it's like a world where there are scientific laws. Now they're based on different scientific principles, but it's like almost a science. That's like really way over here. That's honestly like a lot of sci-fi too. The other one is like
Brandon
soft.
Sanderson.
Sanderson is kind of over the line. He's not hard, but he's definitely on the hard side.
He's more on the hard side.
Right.
Then depends on what book you read.
Yeah. Then there's like soft. And Tolkien is more on the soft side because it's not really clear what Gandalf can do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now at the same time, Tolkien balances that with a more hard magic thing, the ring. It's very clear.
Yes.
Put the ring on, you turn invisible, you might go into the Wraith world, right?
Yeah.
Now here in Hunt Cupboards, it's very much soft. And you can't really tell what's going on.
Yeah.
Now I like that mystique. I really do. I think that hard magic can sometimes take the wonder out of it, which is something that Indy Wilson wants to avoid at all costs.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, he wants to make sure this is a world that is
full of magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time,
and it's a very simple magic.
Right.
He doesn't want it to get complicated, which is, I mean, that's the point. And he follows it. He sticks to that.
At the same time, like when you go too soft, you sacrifice understandability.
Mm-hmm.
So Brandon Sanderson has,
which at the beginning we do not understand at all what is going on.
So Sanderson actually has a law, Tanner. He has like 4 laws of magic. Okay, so one of the laws is an author's ability to solve problems with magic are directly proportional to the understanding the audience has of said magic.
I actually read this article.
Yeah. Anyway, So he has a law like that. So do you want kind of? I mean, that's basically it speaks for itself. But Indy Wilson kind of struggles with that, I guess. Like we understand it enough to have like this wonder and mystique, but when it gets down to it, the nitty gritties, it's not as like I don't know. There's also yeah, but again, there are detriments to being on the hard side too. Like you lose the wonder, you know. And so I think he made the right call. I just wish we could have had more understanding, I guess, or he could have balanced the soft out with another hard magic element, if that makes sense. Were you gonna say something, Tanner, or no?
No, I agree.
Okay.
I prefer. Here's my thing. I prefer soft magic in general. I don't like.
I think I'm with you.
I don't like to know everything that's going on within the magic system. I really don't. Like the less you tell me, the more amazed I am. Right. But I agree with you here. Like it feels like it's almost so soft that he compromises my understanding of his world entirely. Right? Like the Tolkienian.
Except the fact that it's wonderful.
Exactly.
Which is a great feeling to have.
It's sometimes I forget that there are even laws in this world.
Okay. And different worlds too, maybe.
Yeah. It feels like it's the Tolkienian world, right? Like we have a magic that is severely soft, right? But the elements of it are used so little that the understandability is not compromised.
Gandalf is not used to do many things except be wise.
Exactly.
Which when I think of Gandalf, I don't really think of I think of a wise wizard in the sense of like the word Istari, which is like he is in the order of Istari. It just means wise one. He's very wise. He's also a wizard, but he doesn't do very much, and that's okay. Like I love Gandalf nonetheless, So
yeah. So I just feel like if I need more clarity in what's happening there in order for me to understand your story more, just a little bit, right? You don't have to.
You don't even understand the story, but like do things with the magic.
To do things, right? If you're doing so much with it, as much as you are, I need to have more hard magic elements or at least a little bit more understanding from it, from the story, in order for me to, not remember.
And I was just like remembering some of my favorite scenes, and they're all scenes that I understood really well, that I could picture completely in my mind, that made sense, maybe not complete sense. Like one of my favorite scenes is in Dandelion Fire when he's in the mound, the Farron mound, and he figures out that while he's with Monmouth, he can go to sleep and then dream and talk to Monmouth in that dream, and then he gets bored of talking to Monmouth, so he goes to sleep in his dream, and and then he finally figures out how to get out of his cell and goes and listens to the committee, the leaders of the committee, and like finds out that they imprisoned Mordecai and that they basically want to get rid of him. And I think that was like one of the only times I laughed in the in the series was that moment right there.
I loved that scene.
That might
but I
be my
didn't
favorite
remember
scene.
it at all.
Yeah.
I think my favorite things though are just like the times where it works, like Baden Hill really works. Like I can picture it, and I love it. I love the descriptions of it.
I was so sad when when Baden Hill became a normal thing.
Oh yeah.
For some reason, like he spent so much of the first book just hearing its what's
the Baden Hill-ness? I don't know. You got to read it.
He's the scents, the aromas.
I can just use my senses to like get in that place.
Yeah,
but I don't think he succeeds.
But then
everywhere.
Once he finally makes it there, and eventually,
I understand what you mean.
Lives there, it loses. Yeah, it loses that specialness, loses the excitement. So yeah.
All right. Well, I know we spent like a little bit being down, but like there are positives. We like this. We like the series. We think you should read it.
Yes,
dear listener. So maybe what are some things that are like valuable in reading? What are some things you did well?
I love baseball.
Ultimately,
that's one of the reasons.
Fair.
I love baseball.
It's very much a good theme.
Uncle Frank.
Yeah, that's valid.
He might be my favorite
Enough
character. I'm not certain.
Something that
definitely
I actually
first
remember.
book.
I actually
first book.
Like scenes
Uncle
with
Frank.
Uncle Frank.
Best part of the first book. Uncle Frank. Just
because you think he's like this, I don't know, lovable, but like kind of weird, but not like really engaged. I don't know, dad, and then he just becomes awesome.
Yeah,
Especially when you realize he's not even from there.
Oh yeah, true.
And then you're just like, oh my gosh,
that moment
this is
where
my cool
that
alien
moment
uncle.
when Henry and him have a conversation, it's like a very big revelation.
Yeah.
I won't spoil it. And Henry just asks 2 questions, and then he goes, "Nope," and "Yep."
Yeah.
And that's the only thing he says. Like, it's the most normal thing in the world. And then Henry goes, "Okay,"
Yeah.
and like they're all good. It is a beautiful scene.
Yes.
Or that scene when Henry like sleeps outside after like dumping all the plaster.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he just comes and sits by him, and that's a cool moment too. Yeah, Uncle Frank is great.
Yeah,
He's great.
and then when he goes out to collect the tumbleweeds, 'cause 2 guys
in Japan want to pay a
were
lot of money
bidding.
for authentic Kansas tumbleweeds.
and then, yeah,
And
and then they find somebody in Texas. Whoop whoop. Yeah. Who
Who had better
who had
authentic Texan
better
tumbleweeds.
and had a certificate of authenticity.
That's right.
That the tumbleweeds were real, and he loses all his profit. That's so Indy Wilson.
Yeah, it's true. Very
That
much.
sounds so much like him.
The world building is fantastic. All the worlds are great. All the lore and things that have happened is pretty cool. Indoor and what's the world where he goes to live?
You definitely draw very strong attachments or lines in the sand when it comes to certain people.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty easy to determine who you're gonna side with. I think throughout most of the story.
Oh, I remember my favorite thing that he did with the world though. Like when he thinks that he's about to go to like where his mom was from, the ocean town thing.
Oh yeah.
And then like he doesn't, that like the mystery of being of that like little ocean town and thinking of the world so much bigger than it actually, like the tiny bit that you'd seen, right? Because you thought of the world as so tiny until he started thinking about like those other places, and then you're like, oh, this isn't just like a tiny little stretch of land inside of a cupboard. This is like big, like big.
Uh-huh.
And that was like, I don't know, that was one of my favorite world scenes.
Yeah. I mean, I think the mailbox as well, the yellow light, all that stuff is.
I know.
really
I completely forgot about how he ends up in in the world of Fitzfarron.
Fitzgerald.
But what's the other one?
A
with
bunch of bureaucratic fairies.
Ron
Fairies.
and is it?
Oh,
Ron
I
and
know. I
Noah?
love that.
I forget.
Ron and
You're not
Noah?
I'm not gonna know. If you don't know,
I
you
know.
just read it.
And they like talk to him. And that's when he finally figures out like that he can dream and that he can.
Oh yeah.
I've completely forgotten that part too. That was in, I think that was in Daniel on Fire.
Yeah.
The beginning of Daniel on Fire.
I think so.
Just meeting characters along the way with Henry that help transform him, help build him up when all his life he's only ever spent time around people who have ridiculed him, who have sheltered him, everyone has mocked him and made fun of him that knew him in his previous life. And now it's just amazing to go to a little country town where maybe everyone does know he's a wuss, but they still do everything they can to help build him up, to make him stronger.
Give him some root beers and make him play baseball.
Yeah.
Slide into first.
And it's
Not into first. You'd never slide into first.
I was about to say, what are you talking about?
Slide into home.
And just, meeting all these characters along the way. We then, I know Tanner's about to go on a rant of Frank, Fat Frank.
No, I'm not. I'm about to.
He's great,
I'm confused about something.
Okay.
I forgot what happened in the Chestnut King. I remember why it was named the Chestnut King. What did he do with the actual Chestnut King? The guy who got all
the
the power.
of High Farron. He basically treated him as a brother. He still had the pages that he found that his father had found in Endor, and he took them to the Chestnut King after being.
Spoiler alert, by the way. Yeah.
Oh,
It's okay.
We should have said that at the beginning of this episode. I've spoiled so many things already.
Okay, it's all right.
Goes to this world, is only transported there because he tells someone that he's Mordecai's son, and they see his burn, his dandelion fire, and so he burns one of the pages from Endor, which shows the symbol of the Black Star, which then that symbol or that it's like a living fire, then somehow points to or accuses the Chestnut King, and he ends up confessing that he has the Black Star, and at this point, all
So-
Henry knows is he wants to get rid of the Black Star because that is what is keeping the witch and everything in Endor still functioning,
Gotcha.
living off of the living.
Gotcha.
Even in death,
Oh.
they're living off of the living.
I forgot about that. Like I totally didn't know
That's
about.
cool.
I
I
didn't
forgot.
remember
Yeah.
about the star
Yeah.
or any of that.
But-
That's
But then Henry convinces him to send an army of the Farron,
To be
of
able
the
to
High
turn
Farron.
back.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Speaking of like all that kind of stuff, though, the theme. Okay, we all agree that the Hundred Cupboards is a good series, as in it is quality. It's not going to harm anything. It's not going to harm your kids. It's only teach them good things.
And even if it gives you nightmares, those nightmares
That's
are good.
exactly right. We'll talk about that. But one thing I wanted to say was I gonna say? Oh yes, I think we have a category. Bryson, you said earlier filler, and I understand what you mean, although I don't think that's the right word.
Okay.
Now, Bryson and I are reading a book right now, and the book is called Love What Lasts by a guy named Joshua Gibbs. And basically what he argues is that cultural artifacts can be sorted into three categories. The mediocre, things that don't last very long,
Mm-hmm.
things that are based upon really things that are bad for us, that indulge our desires and pleasures, and that because of that aren't connected to any transcendent principles of goodness, truth, and beauty. And so when modern culture advances, they get left behind.
Yeah.
Then there is the uncommon, those things that have lasted forever. Homer, Paradise Lost, the canon, basically. All the stuff that has proved its worth.
The Bible.
The Bible, anything, like the Nicene Creed, cathedrals, like all of that.
Yes.
It's uncommon. It's lasted. It
Beethoven?
will last. Beethoven, Bach, Mozart. But then you have the common, okay? And the common's not halfway to bad, halfway to good. It's things that don't tear down your soul, but they're not like super nourishing for it.
Yeah.
And
they
they're like a
slowly,
good way-
gradually build it up.
Right, and they're a good way to spend the time, you know? Like the uncommon and the common are actually related a lot closer
Yes.
than the common and mediocre are.
Yes.
So 100 Cupboards is squarely in the common.
Oh yeah.
It's not going to be something they're reading thousands of years from now,
No.
but it's most definitely something that is good for your soul,
Yes.
but not in a spectacular way. And now that is because I think, number one, it's a good way to introduce young kids to the darkness of the world, but the goodness of defeating it.
Yes.
And Wing for the Saga is another way. Do this,
yeah,
The
that
Hobbit,
is
Lord of the
something that
Rings.
I forgot about. Just like it really does a good job of tackling evil and darkness, and there will always
He's very
that
smart
is
about
that is a theme I love, is just how the dandelion overcomes
Yeah.
the darkness. It will be pushed back. It will be
The weed.
yes. It will die multiple times, over and over and over again. But it will in the end take over and destroy all darkness completely. And that is the story of our hope.
Definitely.
And that is what has already happened. That's what Christ has already done for us, and that's what will happen on the last day. And
It's
yeah.
very beautiful like that. Yeah.
So
It's dark, like we say, like it's violent, but I think it's not gratuitous. It's a very good way to introduce younger people into, hey, the real world. Not to be like too, the real world is a dark place, my kid. But yeah, understand like a good, healthy understanding of good and evil, and that good will triumph. But then second, like you said, that this world is a magical, wonderful place. Playing baseball in Kansas is just as magical as defeating the Witch of Endor, honestly.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
because both involve magic. And yeah, okay, maybe some fundamentalist mom is going to be upset that we said magic, but in a positive way. But the reality is, the world is full of wonder. It's full of things that we really don't understand, no matter our scientific naming of them, all the way.
Yes.
And ultimately, that this world is a place alive, and that we need to appreciate that. Like, 100 Cupboards is like anti-escapism almost.
Yes.
It's a fun time, but once you get out, you are enriched to live a better life in this world as well. Like we talked about with Wing for the Saga at the end.
That is a huge goal of his. It's avoid the escape entrapment and realize that you are in this world and you cannot leave this world until God lets you.
Exactly.
And live your life to the fullest while you're still here. Live your life in complete obedience to Him, realizing that this world is full of magic.
Right.
And that all this magic glorifies Him.
Exactly.
It's all going to point back to Him.
Right. What is man that you're mindful of Him?
Yeah.
When I consider the works of your hands, yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly right.
Mm.
Any final thoughts, Tanner?
a beautifully mid-series.
That's not quite what we said. There's our Tanner lands. I don't know. I think it's definitely a very good common series.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think? We need to do more
Well,
of
I haven't
Andy
read the book,
Wilson
so I
canon?
can't use
I
that
don't
word
know.
in good
I think you said
in
Bryson.
good conscience.
Yeah, fair. You haven't read the book yet. And
So
the book is for you, Tanner. like it is for people like you.
Too bad. Too bad it doesn't
Touche.
exist anywhere where I can read it right
Yeah,
now.
I know, fair. The copies
I will
are
quit
rare.
reading it right now and
Bryson's
give it to
like,
you.
Tanner needs this more than I do. It's like that scene where Lucy hands the fawn or handkerchief. Like, you need this more than I do.
Yeah.
And then Bryson answered it. Love that. Okay.
He's not wrong.
No, you're not wrong. Yeah. I think as far as Andy
All of
Wilson
you need
goes,
to go read that book.
100 Cupboards is the base. We talked about a lot of his stuff in our other episode. And hey, like I said, Bryson, we need to get some more. We need to branch out. Is that what you said?
Yes.
So, okay. Well,
Because we love indie.
no, we do.
And,
We love him. You should read him.
and
I'm glad that people like him exist, writing good stories.
yes. What?
Public service announcement be like.
For Tiny Town?
Okay. Well, for
Oh,
those of you who don't
well.
understand, the library we're recording in just made an announcement in the room that we booked. Like, hey, Tiny Place is now closed. Okay. Well, guys, that wraps up your episode. Tanner,
I believe so.
where should people go to find more of our stuff?
They should go to 412podcasting.com. And if they really love us, they would go to our newsletter, which they can find at 412podcasting.com/newsletter.
Also there.
Which is also there. We have some amazing blog posts and beautiful things. You can also listen to both of our podcasts there. We also have another podcast
See some
called
mugshots.
See some mugshots of us. Read our
Very sunburned
bios.
Bryson.
We actually need
Yeah.
to do some.
We need to update those.
some that
We need to
look more like
read
mugshots.
maybe.
those photos.
Mugshots.
They were miraculously not amazing.
They were spectacularly mid. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took
Miraculously
so much
made.
for us to make them look bad.
Anyways, go there. Amazing stuff on 412podcasting.com. And as I said, you can listen to both of our podcasts there,
True.
including the screening, which we have not had a good episode for quite some time.
Wow, that's not.
What?
What do you mean? The latest episode was Bryson and I. talking
Oh,
about-
did you do the Ballad of Songbirds
Yeah, we
and
did.
Snakes?
Yes, we did.
I forgot about that.
You
I wasn't on
didn't
that.
even know.
Never mind. We have go listen to that.
Go listen. Go listen. Yeah.
Go listen to that. Get that podcast some
In your
views.
ears.
And I will say, if any of y'all listening out there have movies that y'all want us to watch
Yeah.
and review,
Let us know.
Contact us through the website because
right.
I will
Yes.
actually see it that
You can
way.
do a content form.
yeah.
Or what is it? Request? I don't know. Something.
It's a content
Yes.
form.
Content form.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean,
And,
we're not gonna watch anything,
Right.
but
We're not gonna watch Twilight. That's one thing. One thing for sure.
Wait a
No.
second. Wait.
Even
Hold
though we
on.
just did Hunger Games.
Right. Not that far off. Yeah, I guess we do have lines though. Okay.
Yes.
Hunger Games on one side. All right. Well,
And we've already seen Zack Snyder's Justice League, so for the record, there's nothing that could be longer.
True. There's nothing. No movie. Sure. Yeah. All right. We'll do some donor shout-outs for those who have supported us over at patreon.com/bookin. They've given us money. You want to support us, you can head over there. $2 gets you some patron-only posts. $5 shout-out and post. $10 new episode every couple of weeks, and donor shout-out and post, and everything like that. So donor shout-out for people who have supported us at $5 or more. We're going to rotate. I'm going to say one, or do popcorn, and you say the next one, okay? So me, Bryson,
Wait,
Tanner.
I need to find my note.
Okay. All right, well, we'll leave Tanner behind. Nana.
I'm looking for mine too.
Oh, man. This is bad.
I know. Okay.
I found it. Van Pappy and Wheeler.
Yay! Isaiah's grandparents,
Moses and Zara.
Aunt Jenny and Uncle Sam.
Mr. Mike and Miss Laura. Thank you all so much.
Anna.
Emily.
Keenan.
Howdy.
Miss.
Wow, what a
Wait,
interesting way to
what was
say
I
it.
gonna say?
Howdy.
Miss Jenny. Yes.
Mrs. Hall. Thank you.
Will.
And Kara.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate all of your support, all of your listenership, everything.
Mhm.
We do this for you. It's spectacular to be able to engage you guys. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that episode. We'll be seeing you next time with some more Odyssey, hopefully, and some more episodes, hopefully with Mere Christianity and Sherlock Holmes, other stories you got coming.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be a very fun semester. Until next time.
Keep on booking it.